Not long after, the boats sailed nearer. Every boat saw either 2 or 3 people coming out and entering the ship. Every person, after entering the huge boat, would bow to Lu Guanying and be respectful in their behavior. It seemed that seats had been arranged for the visitors from the little boats and according to their status. Some people arrived earlier but sat at the back, whereas some who arrived later got to sit in the front. A tea server ushered the visitors to their seats. The visitors had stern and rough expressions, and their actions were swift and fierce. Although they dressed like fishermen, it seemed as if all of them were versed in martial arts and were definitely not the usual type of fishermen. Lu Guanying raised his arm and said, "Brother Zheng, what have you found out?" A skinny man sitting in the middle stood up and said, "To answer Junior Master, the Jin ambassador has decided to sail across the lake tonight. The captain, who is on the pretext of receiving him, would reach in probably an hour's time. The latter is late due to the ransacking on the way." Lu Guanying asked, "How much has he ransacked?" The man answered, "There have been harvests from every village, and his soldiers are still robbing the villagers now. When I saw him alight the boat, his soldiers were struggling with more than 20 heavy chests of treasures." Lu Guanying asked, "How many soldiers and horses does he have with him?" The man answered, "About 2,000. Those who crossed the lake with him do not have horses with them. Since there are not enough boats, there are about 1,000 of them who stay back at shore." Lu Guanying turned towards the audience and asked, "Fellow brothers, what do you guys think?" Everyone answered, "We will follow Junior Master's orders." Lu Guanying placed both hands into his sleeves and said, "These corrupted officials go round snatching money through immoral means. We the people from the lake would not be doing justice if we do not get back those treasures and money. We will do our best to grab as much as we can. Half of it will go to the poor villagers by the lake, and the other half will be split between us." The audience all roared in agreement. It was then that Go Jing and Huang Rong realized that these people were the pirates of the lake, and Lu Guanying was probably the leader. Lu Guanying said, "Without further ado, let's get going. Brother Zheng, take 5 small boats and continue to keep watch." The skinny man took the order and immediately sailed out. Lu Guanying went on to assign everyone their tasks, such as who would lead, who would be the backups, who would lead the water ghosts to swim and create damage to the enemy's boat, who would grab the treasures, who would capture the official, and so on. He dutifully assigned the various tasks in a very organized way. Go Jing and Huang Rong were secretly puzzled. They had just dined and chatted with Lu Guanying earlier in the day and found him to be a polite, proper and decent chap, not forgetting that he was from a wealthy and cultivated family. Who would have guessed that he was a pirate leader? Just as Lu Guanying had finished assigning the various tasks and everyone was setting out, someone in the middle stood up and said coldly, "We people have no assets whatsoever. It is all right to rob some wealthy businessmen. But if we attack such an official, won't we have trouble living on the lake in the future? We should not offend the Jin ambassador." Go Jing and Huang Rong thought the voice sounded familiar. When they squinted to have a better look, they realized that it was Sha Tongton's disciple, one of the 4 ghosts of the Yellow River, Stealing Soul's whip, Ma Qingzhong. They did not know how he ended up in the group. Lu Guanying's expression changed. He had yet to answer when a few pirates in the crowd started hooting. Lu Guanying said, "Brother Ma is a first-timer and doesn't know the rules here. Since everyone is determined to carry out the task, we'll give our all and make sure the soldiers have no chance to retaliate. Only then will we die without regrets." Ma Qingzhong answered, "All right, you people go ahead then. I would rather not get involved and get myself into trouble." With that, he turned and started to walk out of the boat. 2 men blocked him and cried out, "Brother Ma, you swore that you will go through thick and thin with us." Ma Qingzhong pushed out with both palms and retorted, "Get lost." The 2 men were hit and fell to the side. As Ma Qingzhong was about to leave the boat, He suddenly felt a gust of wind flow towards his back. When the wind flowed past him, he used his left hand to retrieve a dagger from his boot, twisted his arm and pierced the dagger behind. Lu Guanying stretched out his left arm and positioned it on the entrance door. At the same time, he leaped and thrust his palm forward. Ma Qingzhong used his right arm to block the attack while using his left arm to pierce the dagger forward. The two men exchanged attacks on the narrow passage of the ship. Go Jing once fought with Ma Qingzhong back in Mongolia. When he first saw Lu Guanying's moves, he thought that it would not be easy for him to win. But after some more moves, Lu Guanying kept gaining the upper hand and was clearly going to win. Go Jing was suspicious and thought, "Why is that Ma guy suddenly not strong anymore? Ah, yes, that day when he fought with me, he had the support of his martial brothers, but now, he's singly surrounded by so many enemies, of course he'll be afraid." But Go Jing did not know that the real reason lied in Hong Shigong's training for the past 2 months. Go Jing had mastered 15 stanzas of the world's renowned 18 subduing dragon poems, accompanied by pointers and advice provided by Hong Shigong himself. Because of this, although he did not understand the full essence of the skill, his martial arts had improved tremendously and were at a very much higher level than the average skills he learned from the 7 freaks of Jiangnan. But at this point in time, Go Jing was still unaware that his skills had already suppressed his 6 teachers, and thus, he still thought that he was less superior than Ma Qingzhong. He saw the two men further exchange a couple of stunts when Lu Guanying shot out his left fist and a paw sound was heard. The blow had hit Ma Qingzhong in the chest, who stumbled and fell back. 2 pirates behind him pierced him with their daggers and Ma Qingzhong lay dead. The 2 pirates then lifted up the corpse and threw it into the lake. Lu Guanying continued, "Brothers, let's embrace our mission bravely." The crowd began to cheer loudly and each separated, went back to their respective boats and began to head east. Lu Guanying's huge boat sailed right at the back of the others. After a while, they spotted about 10 huge and brightly lit boats from afar, heading west towards them. Go Jing and Huang Rong thought to themselves, "These big boats must belong to those officials." The two secretly climbed up the pole of the ship and sat on top at the beam and roof but hid behind the sail. They heard the seashell tune from the little boats, and as both opposing sides came closer, there were sounds of yelling, scolding, clashing of weapons and the sounds of splashing as bodies dropped into the water. After a while, the officials' boats were on fire which lit up the dark sky and cast a fiery red shadow over the lake. Go Jing and Huang Rong knew that the pirates had succeeded in their mission and saw a few little boats sailing forward furiously with shouts of, "The soldiers have been defeated and the commander has been caught." Lu Guanying was delighted. He walked to the head of the ship and shouted, "Inform the various chiefs of each boat to put in a little more effort so that we can capture the Jin ambassador." The pirate who delivered the news obeyed and flew off to pass the message. Go Jing and Huang Rong nudged each other at the same time and had the same thoughts. That Jin ambassador must be Wanyan Kang. I wonder how will he deal with this. They heard the seashell tune coming from various boats again and saw that the group of boats had turned back towards their direction and the pirates were tugging at their sails. The east wind was suddenly blowing furiously, causing the boats to sail like arrows shooting towards the west. Lu Guanying's ship was actually right at the back of the fleet, but now, his ship had become the leader. Go Jing and Huang Rong were sitting on the roof with the wind blowing on their backs. They were sailing fast across the misty lake, and the myriad of stars in the sky came into view such that they had the urge to sing out loud. Suddenly, the little boats sailed past one by one and ended up in front of the ship Go Jing and Huang Rong were on. The boats sailed for about an hour and the sky turned brighter before 2 boats sailed quickly towards the ship. One of the men in the boat raised a green flag and waved it, shouting, "We have spotted the Jin ship. The commanding boat has already taken to lead to capture it." Lu Guanying was standing in the front of his ship and called out, "Good." After a short while, Another small boat sailed back and reported, "That bastard Jin ambassador has deadly claws. Our commander is injured but leader Peng and Dong are currently trying to subdue him." After a while, 2 pirates carried an injured and unconscious commander onto Lu Guanying's ship. Lu Guanying was inspecting the wounds when 2 small boats rowed up and the pirates helped their 2 injured commanders of the boats up onto the ship. The pirates also reported that Pao Mao Peak's leader Go suffered a deadly blow from the Jin ambassador and fell into the lake. Lu Guanying was furious and shouted, "I am going to personally kill that vicious Jin dog." Go Jing and Huang Rong felt strongly against Wanyan Kang's actions, but could not bear to let him fend off the group of pirates alone, as this would also make Mu Nianqi hate them forever. Huang Rong whispered into Go Jing's ear, "Are we going to help him?" Go Jing replied with a slight sigh, "Save him but make him repent." Huang Rong nodded. At the same time, Lu Guanying leaped onto a small boat and yelled, "Let's go!" Huang Rong and Go Jing said, "Let's go and stop the small boat." Both of them leaped onto the side of the small boat and heard some shouting from the group of pirates in front. They looked out and saw the boats under the Jin ambassador slowly sinking one by one. They thought that it must have been the doings of the water ghosts who were in charge of wrecking the bases of the boats underwater. As the pirates waved the green flag, 2 small boats hurriedly rowed over and reported, "The Jin dog has fallen into the water and has already been captured by us." Lu Guanying was delighted and leaped back onto his ship. After a while, the seashell tune was blown again and the various little boats assembled together, one by one, bringing along with them the Jin ambassador and his guards onto the ship. Go Jing and Huang Rong saw that Wanyan Kang had his hands and feet bounded by ropes and his eyes were tightly shut. They thought that he must have swallowed too much water, but his chest had not contracted and he was still breathing. At this time, the sky was already bright as the sunlight shone brightly from the east, revealing a line of boats floating gracefully on the lake. Lu Guanying commanded, "The various leaders may return to the manor and hold a banquet to celebrate. Please lead your teams back and await your rewards." The pirates cheered clamorously and the boats slowly parted ways and slowly disappeared into the cloud of mist, and the lake became peaceful and quiet once more. Go Jing and Huang Rong waited for the ship to sail back to the Lu Manor, and after Lu Guanying and his group of pirates left did they fly back to the shore. The pirates were overjoyed with their rewards and did not notice that there were people secretly hiding on their ship. Huang Rong thought out the directions and led Go Jing into the manor via the backyard and back into their room. At this time, the servant who took care of their orders had checked a few times to see if they had woken up, but seeing that the room door was still locked, he thought that the 2 young men must have had a long day yesterday and thus slept longer. After they got back into their room, Go Jing opened the door and 2 servants who had stood outside waiting came forward to greet him before bringing up some breakfast and said, "Master Lu is waiting in his study. Please go and join him after your breakfast." The 2 ate some snacks and buns before following the servant to the study. Master Lu smiled and said, "The winds by the lake are strong, and when they blow against the shore, the noise might be disturbing, so did you 2 sleep well?" Go Jing wasn't used to lying, so when he heard the question, he froze for a moment. Huang Rong answered, "We only heard sounds of seashell humming during the night. I think it must have been the monks and Taoist priests chanting and practicing their rituals." Master Lu laughed and did not ask any more. Instead, he said, "I have collected some artistic works and would like 2 brothers here to have a look." Huang Rong answered, "Of course. Anything which Master Lu collects must be priceless." Master Lu ordered the study keeper to bring out some artistic pieces, and Huang Rong observed each of the pieces curiously. Suddenly there were noises which sounded like they came from outside. They could hear footsteps and it sounded like a group of people chasing a person. A voice said, "Since you've stepped into the manor, it would be impossible for you to escape now." Master Lu acted as if nothing had happened and as if he didn't hear anything and asked, "The art of calligraphy in our dynasty is dominated by the 4 families of Su. Huang, me and Kai. I wonder which family does Brother Huang like best? Huang Rong was about to answer when the door of the study suddenly slammed open and a person, who was wet from head to toe, rushed in. It was Wanyan Kang. Huang Rong tugged on Go Jing's sleeve and whispered, "Look at the art pieces, don't look at him." The two turned around and lowered their heads to the calligraphy works. Actually, Wanyan Kang didn't know how to swim, and thus when his boat sunk earlier on, although he was well versed in martial arts, he could not save himself. He then fainted, and when he regained conscious, he was already captured and brought to the manor for questioning by Lu Guanying. Wanyan Kang saw that the guarding pirate did not carry his usual dagger and secretly came out with a plan. He summoned his internal strength and used his fingers to grab onto the ropes, which bounded him before yelling out, and used the 9-yin white bone claws to free himself of the ropes. The group of guards were stunned and rushed forward to capture him, but were attacked by his claws and fell to the ground. Wanyan Kang ran off, but who would have guessed that the manor was structured with bizarre mazes, and if a stranger did not know the secret to the formations and did not have a guide from the manor, he or she would get stuck in the manor. Wanyan Kang got anxious after he could not find his way out and barged into Master Lu's study. Although Lu Guanying saw that he had freed himself of the ropes, he knew that Wanyan Kang would not be able to find his way out of the manor and thus did not worry. He chased after Wanyan Kang and saw him dash into Master Lu's study. Afraid that his father would get hurt, he hurriedly dashed forward and stood in front of his father. The various section leaders of Lake Tai blocked the doorway. Wanyan Kang was furious for being trapped. He pointed a finger at Lu Guanying and yelled, "Despicable pirates! You people used dirty tricks to sink my boat. Have you no sense of shame? Aren't you afraid to be mocked by other Zhonghu swordsmen?" Lu Guanying laughed heartily and said, "You are a Jin prince. What business do you have with us Han swordsmen? What have Zhonghu people got to do with you?" Wanyan Kang answered, "When I was in Beijing, I heard of many stories regarding the heroes in Jiangnan and thought that the men in Jiangnan were all upright and courageous, but who would have thought in actual fact, you people do not live up to your reputations at all." Lu Guanying was furious and shouted, "So?" Wanyan Kang answered, "You people are no more than just despicable cowards who use vast strengths to win over one person." Lu Guanying laughed coldly. "So if anyone takes you on solely and win, then you will die without regrets?" Wanyan Kang was actually using words to infuriate Lu Guanying so as to trick him into saying exactly this. He immediately replied, "If the manor has one person who can win me in terms of fighting, I willingly give in and will die without regrets. But I wonder who would I spar with?" As he said this, he arrogantly looked through the crowd with hands behind him and laughed coldly. These words angered Lake Tai Mo Li Peak's chief, the section leader, Golden Rockhead, who shouted, "Bastard, I am going to beat you up." With that, he rushed into the study, stretched out both fists, and using the stance sounds of the striking bells he aimed towards Wanyan Kang's Tai-Yang point. Wanyan Kang gently shifts his body and flips his left palm to grab hold of his opponent's back robe before swinging him out of the door. Lu Guanying, seeing Wanyan Kang's vicious strikes, was secretly alarmed. He knew that none of the section heads was his match and yelled, "Excellent skills, let me exchange a few stances with you. Let's go out to the yard." Lu Guanying knew that his opponent was strong and was afraid that if they fought in the study, one of them would accidentally harm his father and his guests, as none of them knew how to fight. Wanyan Kang answered, "It's the same wherever we fight, why not just stay here? Please display your stance, section leader." When actually his tone was hinting another meaning, which Wanyan Kang was actually thinking in his heart, "I only have to use a few stances to defeat you, why bother to change a place to fight?" Lu Guanying was secretly seething and said, "All right, since you are the guest, please start first then." Wanyan Kang relaxed his right palm but used his left palm to attack Lu Guanying's chest. His first stance was already using that of the 9-yin white bone claws, bent on injuring his opponent. Lu Guanying secretly scolded, "Arrogant fellow, let me show you what I am capable of." He sucked in his chest subtly but did not retreat. Instead, he used his right fist to attack his opponent's moving elbow, while two of his left fingers pointed towards Wan Yinkang's face, with the intention of piercing his eyes. Wan Yinkang saw that his stances were swift and was a little nervous. He secretly thought to himself, "Who would have thought there would be such a skilled fighter in this rural place?" With that, he hurriedly retreated half a step, flipped his wrist and aimed at Lu Guanying's shoulder. Lu Guanying twisted his waist towards the right and took back both of his arms. Wan Yinkang knew that his opponent was strong and did not dare disregard him anymore. He became serious and displayed the Quanzhen fist techniques, which Qu Chuji had taught him. Lu Guanying was the favorite pupil of Reverend Kumu of Yunqi Monastery. He learned the fist techniques of the Shanxia school, which was affiliated to Shaolin Monastery in the hills of Henan. Therefore, the skills Lu Guanying learned were also orthodox. He was cautious of his opponent and used different skills to counter whatever his opponent used. He knew that Wan Yinkang's claw techniques were superior and thus made sure that he didn't let Wan Yinkang's fingers touch his body. When he saw the chance to attack Wan Yinkang, he used his legs. His teacher had taught him, "Use 30% of your fists and 70% of your legs. Your hands are just like fans, concentrate on using your kicks." Lu Guanying learned skills that did not belong to his family and his kicking techniques were excellent. The longer the two fought, the faster their stances became and it looked like two dancing shadows sparring with each other in the study. Go Jing and Huang Rong did not want Wan Yinkang to recognize them and thus retreated to the sides of the bookshelf and secretly observed the fight. Wan Yinkang was getting agitated the longer he fought on and secretly thought to himself, "If this goes on, even if I can defeat him this round, there will still be others wanting to spar with me and by that time, how will I have any energy left to fight?" His skills were actually much more superior to Lu Guanying, but because he was nearly drowned and swallowed too much water such that he lost quite a bit of energy and his body was exhausted. Furthermore, it was the first time he was trapped in this sort of situation and thus, was somewhat nervous, therefore allowing Lu Guanying to gain the upper hand for more than 10 stances. He forced himself to concentrate and put more force into his attacks. A crack sound was heard as Lu Guanying's shoulder was injured by Wan Yinkang's fist. Lu Guanying stumbled and retreated backwards. He saw that his opponent was taking the chance to attack further and leaped up, kicking his right leg forward towards Wan Yinkang's chest. The stance, called bosom kick, is a very swift and powerful stunt, which Lu Guanying had practiced since young. He had to tie himself to a rope so as to train his speed since the stunt emphasizes on the swiftness of the kick such that the opponent is caught by surprise and cannot defend himself in time. Wan Yinkang felt a pain in his chest and he twirled his right hand and pierced his fingers into Lu Guanying's calf. He used his left palm and thrust towards Lu Guanying's calf before yelling, "Lay down." Lu Guanying was actually standing on one foot, but after that strong push by Wan Yinkang, he lost balance and fell backwards towards his father. Master Lu stretched out his left arm and caught Lu Guanying before gently placing him on the ground. When he saw the blood, which flowed from his son's leg, he was shocked and furious. Master Lu shouted, "How are you related to the twin killers of the Dark Winds?" Everyone was surprised when Master Lu intervened. Wan Yinkang and the various section leaders were unaware that Master Lu knew martial arts. Even his son, Lu Guanying, did not know that. Everyone thought that since Master Lu was crippled, it was natural that he did not know and could not fight. Even since he was young, Lu Guanying never asked or probed into his father's businesses, but who would have known that that stance which Master Lu displayed to save his son was steady and strong. Huang Rong saw the 8 iron diagrams on the study's lintel last night and pointed it out to Go Jing. They were thus the only ones who did not seem that surprised. When Wan Yinkang heard Master Lu ask about the twin killers of the dark winds, he froze for a moment before answering. What is the twin killer of the dark winds? Although Mai Chaofeng taught him martial arts, she never told him about her past before, and Wan Yinkang did not even know her name. Therefore it was understandable that he did not know anything about the twin killers of the dark winds. Master Lu was furious and shouted, "Who are you bluffing? Who taught you the deadly 9-yin white bone claws?" Wan Yinkang replied, "I have no time to listen to your nonsense, goodbye." With that, he turned and headed towards the door. The various section leaders were furious and took up their weapons, ready to guard the doorway. Wan Yinkang turned towards Lu Guanying and laughed coldly, "Didn't you give your word just now?" Lu Guanying was pale and waved his arm saying, "Heroes of the lake keep to their promises, brothers, just let him go. Brother Zheng, please lead him out." The section leaders were all unwilling to do so, but since the junior master had given orders, they could not oppose him. Leader Zhang said, "Follow me then, I bet you rascal here would not be able to find the way out yourself." Wan Yinkang said, "Where are my men?" Lu Guanying replied, "Let them all go." Wan Yinkang pointed to him and said, "Good, you are a man of your words. As for the rest of you leaders, until we meet again," he said rudely and arrogantly. Just as he was about to leave the room, Master Lu suddenly called out, "Hold it! Elderly here is untalented, but would like to have a taste of your 9-yin white bone claws." Wan Yinkang stopped in his tracks and laughed. "All right." Lu Guanying hurriedly said, "Father, you should not deal with this rascal at your age." Master Lu replied, "Don't worry, his 9-yin white bone claws is not up to standard yet." He stared at Wan Yinkang and said weakly, "I am crippled and am unable to move, come here." Wan Yinkang laughed but did not move. Lu Guanying's leg wounds were hurting, but he did not want his father to fight with Wan Yinkang and leaped out of the door shouting, "I will represent my father to exchange a few blows with you." Wan Yinkang laughed and said, "Good. Let's practice again." Master Lu shouted, "Yinger, move away." With that, he leaped up, his left arm gripped the couch he was sitting on, and he used his left arm strength to support his weight of his body. His right palm lashed out towards Wan Yinkang's head. At the sound of the crowd's anxious gasps, Wan Yinkang raised his hands to counter the blow, but felt his left wrist tighten and trapped. He saw that swift shadow of his opponent's palm, which was heading towards his shoulder. Wan Yinkang did not expect his opponent's seizing stance to be so fast and unique. He hurriedly used his right hand to strike back while struggling to free his left hand from his opponent. Master Lu shifted his weight onto Wan Yinkang's wrist and was able to float in midair. His left palm unleashed several killer strikes, while Wan Yinkang used all his might to escape his grip but to no avail. He tried to unleash a flying kick towards Master Lu but missed. The crowd was delighted as they watched the ongoing fight. Master Lu raised his palm, ready to unleash a strike onto Wan Yinkang when the latter stuck out his fingers and aimed towards Master Lu's palm. Master Lu suddenly lowered his palm and struck Wan Yinkang's shoulder point. Wan Yinkang felt his upper body going numb, and following that, his right wrist was also seized by Master Lu. Two sounds were heard before Wan Yinkang's wrists were released. Master Lu's stance was very quick as he used his right hand to push against Wan Yinkang's waist, while his left hand pushed against Wan Yinkang's shoulder, thus borrowing Wan Yinkang's strength to leap back steadily into his couch. Wan Yinkang felt both his legs giving way and he collapsed. The leaders were stunned, and it was only after a moment's silence when they started to cheer.